Imagine squatting over a dark, stench-filled hole in a freezing stone castle, with no toilet paper, no flush valve, and the constant fear of something or someone grabbing you from below. Welcome to the nightmare of medieval toilets. Did you know that even kings and queens dreaded their daily bathroom visits? In the next few minutes, you'll uncover the shocking truth about how people in the Middle Ages handled their business, from disease-ridden privies to bizarre rituals that'll make your stomach churn. Could you survive a single day using these medieval loos? Stick around, because what you're about to learn might make you kiss your modern bathroom goodbye. Let's start with the grim reality of medieval sanitation, or the lack thereof. Picture a bustling castle in 14th century England. The air is thick with the smell of smoke, sweat, and something far worse. That stench? It's coming from the garderobe, the closest thing to a toilet back then. These weren't the cozy bathrooms you're used to. Garderobes were often just a wooden seat over a hole, carved into the thick stone walls of the castle, with waste plummeting straight into a moat, a ditch, or sometimes just a pile below. No plumbing, no ventilation, and definitely no air freshener. In wealthier homes, the garderobe might be a small alcove off the main hall, but in poorer villages, you'd be lucky to find a shared pit latrine for the whole community. Ever wonder how bad it really smelled? Comment below with your guess. Could you hold your breath long enough to use one? The design of these toilets was a disaster waiting to happen. Garderobes were often built high up in castles, with chutes leading to the ground below. Sounds practical, right? Wrong. The waste didn't always make it to the bottom. It could get stuck in the chute, creating a rotting, maggot-infested mess that filled the castle with a stench so foul it could make a night faint. In some cases, the chutes emptied directly into the moat, turning the castle's defense system into a literal sewer. Imagine trying to storm a castle while swimming through that. And here's a kicker. During sieges, attackers would sometimes fling the collected waste back into the castle with catapults. Talk about biological warfare. If you were a medieval soldier, would you rather face the catapulted waste or the moat? Drop your answer in the comments. Now, let's talk about the people who use these toilets, or tried to. Privacy? Forget about it. In castles, garderobes were often placed in busy areas like hallways or near dining halls. You'd be doing your business while servants or even nobles walked by, maybe tossing you a casual nod. In monasteries, things got even weirder. Monks sometimes shared long benches with multiple toilet holes, sitting side by side in silence, contemplating life while, can you imagine the awkward small talk? Nice weather today, Brother John. In cities like London, public latrines were built over rivers, with rows of seats for dozens of people at once. One wrong move, and you could end up in the Thames. If you had to pick, would you rather use a crowded public latrine or a smelly castle garderobe? Let us know below. But it wasn't just a lack of privacy that made medieval toilets a nightmare. The hygiene or lack thereof was downright horrifying. Without toilet paper, people used whatever was at hand. Wealthy folks might have scraps of wool or linen, but peasants relied on leaves, grass, or even smooth stones. Yes, stones. Imagine the logistics of that. In some regions, people used sticks called gomphis, which were, let's just say, reused. Germs weren't even a concept back then, so no one thought twice about sharing these tools. And washing your hands? That was a luxury. Most people didn't bother, which meant diseases like dysentery and cholera spread like wildfire. In fact, medieval records show that entire villages could be wiped out by outbreaks linked to contaminated water sources near latrines. If you lived in the Middle Ages, what would you use as toilet paper? Share your creative ideas in the comments. Let's dive deeper into the urban nightmare of medieval sanitation. Cities like Paris and London were growing fast in the Middle Ages, but their waste management was stuck in the Stone Age. Public latrines were often just wooden planks over rivers or open pits, and they were always overflowing. In 1326, a London ordinance banned dumping waste into the streets, but people ignored it. Instead, they tossed their chamber pots, basically buckets used as portable toilets, out the window, shouting Gardaloo to warn passers-by. Spoiler alert, it didn't always work. Imagine strolling through medieval London, only to get splashed with someone's business. Some streets were so filthy that they were nicknamed Pissing Lane or Shipeburn Lane. True story. If you were a medieval city dweller, how would you dodge the chamber pot showers? Drop your survival tips below. Now, let's shift to the countryside, where things weren't much better. Rural peasants often didn't have dedicated toilets at all. Many just used the fields or a nearby stream, which doubled as their drinking water source. Gross, right? In some villages, communal cesspits were dug, but they were rarely emptied. When they overflowed, the smell could knock you out from a mile away. And here's a creepy detail. Cesspits were sometimes dug too close to wells, contaminating the water and causing deadly outbreaks. In 1348, the Black Death swept through Europe, and poor sanitation made it even worse. Historians estimate that up to 50% of Europe's population died, partly because of filthy conditions like these. If you were a medieval peasant, would you risk the cesspit or head the fields? Tell us in the comments. Believe it or not, there were people whose job was to deal with this mess. Enter the gong farmer, the unsung hero or victim of medieval sanitation. These poor souls were paid to clean out cesspits and latrines, often working at night to avoid the public scorn. They'd shovel the waste into carts and haul out of town, but not before getting covered in it. Gong farmers were so despised that they were often banned from living in certain parts of the city. Yet, their work was crucial to keeping towns from drowning in filth. In some places like York, gong farmers were even taxed for their privilege of handling waste. Can you imagine having that job? If you were a gong farmer, what would be your biggest complaint? Share below. Let's talk about the bizarre rituals and beliefs surrounding medieval toilets. People in the Middle Ages were superstitious, and the bathroom was no exception. Some believed that demons lived in latrines, waiting to snatch your soul while you were vulnerable. In Germany, there were tales of the latrine devil, a creature that could curse you if you lingered too long. To protect themselves, people carried charms or muttered prayers before entering the garderobe. In monasteries, monks were sometimes forbidden from speaking in the latrine, as it was considered a place of impurity. And here's a wild one. Some medieval texts warned that witches could use your waste to cast spells, so you had to be careful where you deposited it. If you believed in the latrine devil, what charm would you carry for protection? Let us know in the comments. Now, let's explore how the wealthy tried to make their toilet experience less miserable. Nobles had access to slightly better facilities, like private garderobes lined with velvet cushions or scented herbs to mask the smell. In some castles, like the Tower of London, garderobes were built with small windows for ventilation, but that didn't help much. The rich also employed servants called grooms of the stool, whose job was to assist with the royal bathroom routine, yes, including wiping. This was actually a prestigious position, as it gave the servant private access to the king or queen. Imagine being the king's personal bathroom attendant. In 1536, King Henry VIII's groom of the stool was even knighted for his service. If you were a medieval noble, what luxury would you add to your garderobe? Drop your ideas below. But even the rich couldn't escape the health risks of medieval toilets. Garderobes were breeding grounds for bacteria, and no one was immune. In 1183, a group of nobles in Germany fell through a rotten latrine floor during a meeting, plunging into the cesspit below. Several drowned in the waste. A gruesome way to go. This tragedy, known as the Erfurt latrine disaster, became a cautionary tale about shoddy construction. And it wasn't just accidents. Parasites like roundworms and tapeworms thrived in latrines, infecting anyone who came near. Medieval doctors had no idea how to treat these infections, so people turned to bizarre remedies, like drinking mercury or eating garlic to purge the worms. If you were a medieval doctor, what crazy cure would you invent for latrine parasites? Share your wildest ideas below. As disgusting as medieval toilets were, they did inspire some clever innovations. In monasteries, monks built reredorators, communal latrines with stone channels that carried waste away using gravity-fed water. These were like the great-grandparents of modern plumbing. In the 13th century, the city of Exeter in England constructed an underground sewer system to divert waste from public latrines, a rare feat for the time. And in some castles, urine deflectors were carved into garderobe seats to prevent splashback, yes, That was a real problem. These early attempts at sanitation laid the groundwork for the flushing toilets we take for granted today. If you could invent one medieval toilet upgrade, what would it be? Tell us in the comments. Let's zoom out and think about why medieval toilets were so bad. The Middle Ages were a time of survival, not comfort. Most people were too busy avoiding famine, war, or the plague to worry about bathroom hygiene. Knowledge of germs didn't exist, and clean water was scarce. Plus, building proper sanitation systems was expensive and low on the priority list. Castles were designed for defense, not convenience, so garderobes were an afterthought. In cities, rapid population growth outpaced infrastructure, leading to overflowing latrines and filthy streets. It wasn't until the Renaissance that people started taking sanitation seriously, and even then, progress was slow. If you could time travel to the Middle Ages, what sanitation tip would you share with the locals? Drop it below. Now, let's bring this back to you, the modern viewer. Could you survive a day using a medieval toilet? Picture yourself in a drafty castle, squatting over a smelly garderobe with no toilet paper, no privacy, and the distant sound of a minstrel strumming a lute. You'd have to dodge chamber pots in the streets, avoid falling into cesspits, and pray you don't catch dysentery. It's a far cry from your heated bathroom with fluffy towels and scented candles. But here's the thing. Medieval people didn't just survive. They thrived in their own way. They adapted to their environment, just like we adapt to ours. Their resilience is a reminder that humans can endure almost anything, even the worst bathrooms in history. So, what's the grossest bathroom you've ever used? Share your horror story in the comments, and let's see if it beats a medieval garderobe. Before we wrap up, let's recap the nightmare of medieval toilets. From stench-filled garderobes to overflowing cesspits, these bathrooms were a health hazard wrapped in a hygiene disaster. Privacy was non-existent. Toilet paper was a fantasy, and diseases lurked around every corner. Yet, people found ways to cope, whether through superstitious charms, clever innovations, or sheer grit. The next time you flush your toilet or grab a roll of TP, take a moment to thank the modern world. And if you're feeling brave, try this challenge. For one day, skip the toilet paper and use a medieval substitute like a leaf or a cloth. Tag us in your reaction video. We dare you. This video is just the start of our dive into the wild world of the Middle Ages. If you love learning about medieval toilets, you won't believe what we're covering next. Think bizarre beauty hacks and deadly diets that'll make your jaw drop. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss it. And here's a quick question to keep the conversation going. If you could time travel to the Middle Ages, what modern bathroom item would you bring to make life easier? Drop your answer in the comments. Share this video with your friends, and let's keep exploring the past together. See you in the next one.